Well, so it's the start of another week. Hello there, good afternoon, and welcome to The Pulse. We are coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. We are on your digital terrestrial TV because we are free to air on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. This is Joy News, independent, fearless, and credible. Coming up this afternoon, Public Services Workers Union demands their share of the controversial neutrality allowance as it presents a fresh list of some 36 state agencies which it claims have been neglected in the allocations. Well, just stay with us. Meanwhile, the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission says it is taking steps to deal with the concerns. We'll unfold all of that to you here on The Pulse. Former President John Dramani Mahama is accusing government of diverting over 33 billion cedis earmarked for fighting COVID-19 to fund the 2020 elections. That's his claim. We'll assess all of that here on The Pulse as well.
Of in excess of 33 billion Ghana cedis, which could have cushioned the economy, remains unaudited and is believed to have been used largely in the quest to win election 2020 at all costs.
And here on The Pulse, there's a response from the COVID-19 Trust Fund, which is disputing the claims by the former president. We'll get all of that for you here on The Pulse, and what a bloody weekend it has been. 46 injured and 4 others killed in 3 separate road accidents over the weekend.
Eyewitnesses have told us that the Sprinter bus was leading while the Kia Rhino followed. The DAF was heading to Cape Coast from Accra, and the two were from Cape Coast.
Also, there's more on this. We'll hear shortly from the National Road Safety Authority, which is expressing worry over this trend. My name is Blessed Sogah. This is The Pulse. The Pulse, as always, is brought to you by Global Communities Dignilu. This afternoon as well, we are streaming on all of our social media platforms. It's JoyNews on TV and also on YouTube as well. Feel free to tweet at us with the hashtag The Pulse. My personal handle is at Blessed Sogah. It's always a pleasure serving you here on The Pulse. So this afternoon, we're starting off with labor agitations. The Public Services Workers Union is asking government to include over 30 state agencies in the payment of the controversial neutrality allowance. Already, the strike by the civil and local government staff is biting hard as government institutions have been dormant due to the withdrawal of their services following government's failure to pay the controversial neutrality allowance. In a letter cited by JoyNews, as we know, the Public Services Workers Union are also demanding fresh negotiations as they claim employees of some 36 state agencies have been neglected. So we'll bring you excerpts of that demand in a letter which has been tabled before government and the Labour Ministry. Excerpts on your screens right now. It reads, "We express our warm regards to you and further request for urgent grant of political neutrality allowance to qualified members of the Public Services Workers Union." Now, it continues to read that having followed developments surrounding the political neutrality allowance for some public sector workers union workers, it is pertinent to state that the grant of such allowance to a section of the workforce to the neglect of others in the same or similar category would defeat the underlying principles of salary administration in Ghana. Now, the group is also making further claims that if you look at the Constitution of Ghana and other enabling acts, we have laws which requires a number of public sector institutions and their workers as well to be politically neutral in the discharge of their duties. This includes, but not limited to, the Electoral Commission, the Commission for Civic Education as well. We have the National Media Commission and the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. For instance, these are organizations that are supposed to be neutral. Now, at the last National Executive Council meeting of the Public Services Workers Union held in Kumasi, which is way back in March 2022, members resolved to bring the request to your attention and to the attention of the state for urgent consideration. We therefore call for urgent engagement on the matter. Now, here's another point to note. While we anticipate your favorable response, be assured of our availability for necessary engagement to avoid any unintended industrial disharmony. So that's a notice clearly being stated that we may suffer more havoc with regards to our public institutions if government fails to negotiate with the Public Services Workers Union. They have close to 36 state agencies under their watch as well. But why are they making this demand now? Joining us now via Zoom is Bernard J, General Secretary of the group. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. So many believe that you're simply latching on to the earlier demands of clock sag and making fresh demands. Are you being fair to government in that regard, particularly when we know that you've not been part of the initial negotiations?
Thank you very much, my brother, and good afternoon to you all and to your listeners. And thank you for the opportunity to talk about some of these issues that are affecting us in the public sector, especially as public sector workers. First of all, I mean, the letter has been very clear in what we are asking or what we are requesting. And the issue about fairness, we will say that the state or government, for that matter, has rather been unfair to some public sector workers. Now, when we started the single spine, the advent of the single spine was to resolve very critical issues in public sector salary administrations. And apart from ensuring that there is equal pay for work of equal value, as our laws prescribe, another leg of the policy to make sure the policy works very well was the harmonization of allowances, certain allowances in the public sector. And we've been trying to do that for over 10 years now. And it's rather unfortunate that the state, or for that matter, government and institutions that are tasked to ensure that we observe these things are taking decisions and embarking on actions that may be bringing back some of these challenges that we've been trying to resolve in the sector. It's very simple. We have a Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. There is a pay policy. We have all been trying to live with the principles of this policy. So all we are saying is that if, for the sake of the work that a group of public sector workers are doing, they deserve some allowance, then per the principles of the policy, you would have to know and understand that it is not only those few group of workers that deserve to benefit from it, the principle of harmonizing allowances.
And what's shocking is that you're concluding that this is a clear case of neglect. You state that clearly in your letter. Why so?
Definitely. So we expected also the policymaker to ensure that I have several public sector workers under my ambit, or that I am taking care of. And if there is something such as this, political neutrality, we know that it is not only this section of public sector workers or civil servants that are entitled to this, or that are required, as has been explained to us, that this allowance is being given for the fact that either the act or the work of these people are such that they are not required to engage in certain political activity and therefore required to be neutral. Of course, that is the explanations we've heard. And this matter just didn't come up. It has been in the offing. We've heard it. We've tried to make the necessary contact, speak to people in authority so that we could understand what is going on, because we had made it clear in our informal engagements and other engagements that, look, this neutrality allowance you are talking about, or that we have heard going on, if we really want to pay, or the state is ready to pay an allowance like neutrality allowance, and the reasons that have been given, then there are other public service workers that should be considered. Of course, CLOCSAC is a union that has the right to negotiate, and I appreciate them. They are my colleagues. We deal with them. So I am happy if they have been able to negotiate something. For that is it. We are not in any way competing with CLOCSAC.
And in fact, the name of the allowance itself.
The fact is that we have a policy, and it is our responsibility as stakeholders, and therefore in the spirit of social dialogue, to ensure that the principles that we have agreed to govern salary administration and reward and compensation management are followed. So all we are saying is that, fine, There is an allowance that should be paid for people for a particular purpose. There are other category of workers whose acts, the examples we stated, for instance, Electoral Commission, NCC, is very clear that per the nature of their work, they are not allowed.
And that's where another set, and Bernard, just allow me if you would, that's where another set of controversy comes to play. The fact that some Ghanaians are not able to come to terms with the name itself, neutrality allowance. Why pay you an allowance if you know the type of job you're going in for? I'm in the media, for instance. My job requires that I'm apolitical, at least. But I'm not. You don't necessarily get that. So it's not a general practice. So that name, neutrality allowance, the name in question has been a subject of controversy. You agree?
That is wonderful. That's an excellent question, and that's the beauty of democracy. We would all have differences of views, opinions, and ideas on issues. But once we come to an agreement on what is best for the state, what is best for the workers will always speak from the challenges that are confronting them in the work they are doing. And generally in salary administration and reward management, there are things that you don't pay as part of the basic pay. There are allowances and things that are occasioned, by the exigencies of the work. So there is no qualms or arguments about that. However, there are institutions charged to perform certain roles. As workers, we would always come with our demands, and we will give reasons why we think that our demands are justified.
So you're basically telling us that you deserve this controversial neutrality allowance.
Well, so that's what we are saying. These are all matters for negotiation.
Yeah, but let's look at
it. All arises out of challenges that arise in the work.
Right, I get you. But look at the list, for instance.
I'm happy that at the National Labour Conference, we have even agreed to review the single spine, because there are things that as workers we believe should have been factored, in the job factors that were determined. After 10 years of implementing what we have, to review, to make sure that certain risks and things that are associated with the work that we do, I will let you take a chance, do some documentary or something. Try to interview workers who are on the ground. And some of your colleague journalists of GBC, for instance, who are covering stories in let's say, a conflict situation. Interview some Electoral Commission staff, NCC staff, when they are involved in this electoral process and the challenges they face, even houses where they live, because they are electoral officers, the challenges they face. Now, out of these challenges and difficulties, the workers are making demands that, look, out of these challenges and difficulties we face, these things were not factored into the job factors.
Okay, I get the point.
Determining our condition.
Precisely, I get the point you're making.
It is for the policymaker to agree that we sit down, we look at these things, and if they have not been adequately factored or taken care of, they are taken care of, then that speaks for the argument from the other side, that if you know the work you are coming to do, these are the risks, these are the things inherent, which in salary administration we know will be factored in determining even what the basic pay and things are.
For some, basically, Bernard, what you're doing is worsening the situation. We're going to have, for some, a prolonged industrial action, not just by CLOCSAG, but this time around, you're adding 36 more state agencies. So, to be fair to government, do you feel that government will be able to provide the allowances for all of these state agencies? Already, it has a chunk on the table now from CLOCSAG. You are adding some 36 more state agencies. Have you even put the figures to it? And how many people are we looking at in total?
Thank you very much. I think we are really jumping ahead of ourselves. It's a process. We as Public Service Workers Union do not take delight. And in fact, no labor union takes delight in just declaring an industrial action. Now, we have written to our social partners, our stakeholders. These are our concerns that we've raised per the letter you have just read to your listeners. Now, what we believe in engagement, and that's why we stated that clearly in our letter. We believe that we are going to be engaged. We will sit at the table, and once there is understanding and agreement on how to handle the issue, whether it is by change of name or it is by agreeing that this is what we want to do, or it is whatever agreement it is. Once we reach an agreement, there will be no need for any industrial action.
So which means it's firmly on the table. It's firmly on the table, the issue about an industrial action. How much time do you have to wait, at least for that?
For us now, what is at the table is that we've requested for an engagement. Now, let the engagement come. It is the outcome of the engagement that will determine whether there should be industrial action or not. But as I sit here as General Secretary, I've listened to the concerns of my members, and I have taken the necessary action that my members demand of me, and that is to request for that engagement, which rightfully, per our labor laws and the processes we've agreed, is good. Our stakeholders, that is government, fair wages, and have not yet or in any way indicated that they are not ready to engage us.
Have you engaged?
Once they engage us, we will go through the engagement. And I believe with the way we do our things, we are definitely going to reach an agreement that will be an amicable settlement to this issue. So we don't have to be afraid of industrial action now. We rather have to see how we quickly deal with these issues, look at the matters dispassionately, and then agree on the way forward. I think that's what is important.
And I need to state that what we brought our listeners and our viewers earlier is the letter that you've sent to for instance, the Employment Ministry and some other government agencies. Have you received any concrete response as of now from government on whether or not they're ready to engage you?
We've just come back from the weekend. I've been in meetings since morning. That's why I could not come to your studios as you requested. So I'm here to review the mails and things that I have received. But I believe definitely that's how we work. So far, they have not declined in engaging us in various matters or issues that we've had. So we believe that they are going to engage us. That's the spirit of social dialogue. That's the spirit of negotiation. So we believe strongly with the kind of relationship we have with our stakeholders that they are definitely going to engage us, and we will definitely come to an agreement. So we are quite way far from an industrial action.
So I need to also point out that that meeting you're talking about, I guess, is the tripartite meeting, which we understand also borders on a lot of issues happening on the labor front. What's top on that agenda as well? How is that engagement going? And there are issues even about the minimum wage. That's another raging issue as well. How are all these negotiations going, and what's the position of the Public Services Workers Union?
All right, thank you so much. There are structures, even within organized labor and in the engagement with government. What you have just alluded to, the meeting you have just alluded to, is the National Tripartite Committee. Unfortunately, I am not part of that committee. My Secretary General and Deputy at the TUC level are part of that committee. It is after that committee's work that will come down to the Public Services Joint Standing Negotiating Committee, where I'm a member, where we will be looking at the base pay visa. So that is a process.
You're equally also asking for another rise?
Definitely.
It's almost as though, and sorry for cutting through, but it's almost as though you're lumping everything together and expecting government to deal with them in a space of days.
Yeah, so that is what we have. It so happens that all the issues have come up. We've tried to resolve some of them, and you agree with me, the 4% and 7%, the backlash that we received out of that, and what happened to Article 71 holders, the basis and the economic indicators and parameters under which we negotiated those things with government, thinking that they could keep inflation a single digit. All that has been thrown overboard. I mean, we are not really in control of our economy. So with the little challenges that are happening all over, our economy has taken a nose dive.
So you are mindful of the economy, I guess.
If we have had an agreement on that, on the basis of certain economic parameters, And those things have changed. We need to come to the table and negotiate and discuss on how to handle that. But currently, as General Secretary of the Public Services Workers Union, the cry from our members is that there should be an increase.
Bernard, would have to leave it here. Thank you so much for joining us, General Secretary for the Public Services Workers Union. There's an assurance coming through from the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, which is giving assurances that it will address the concerns of striking civil servants. CLOSAC, as we do know, is withdrawing its services in demand of the neutrality allowance promised them some years ago. Featuring on the AM show this morning, Chief Executive Officer for the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, Ben Arthur, explained government actually recognizes the disparities and is ensuring that some corrections are made to resolve the impasse.
Government has recognized some disparities, and I must be very sincere with all of us that government has already taken the necessary action. There's a committee, a technical committee that has been put in place to review the entire single-span pay policy. And that came after consultation with organized labor and the Employers Association. In fact, it was a product from the National Labor Conference that was held in Kowu, in Kotia, late February and early March. So that is one of the outcomes, and government has honored its promise to ensure that the necessary review to address any disparities are concerned. But I can also all new CEOs that have been appointed and have these disparities that we're talking about. So this means some existing disparities that have been identified, and government has gone ahead to ensure that the necessary corrections will be made. I must also be sincere with you that the targets, as far as the wage basket is concerned, are very difficult to meet. Government has gone ahead to even slash some CEOs' benefit to 30%, but that is not to say that that entirely addresses the issue. So we are taking the necessary steps to ensure that the right thing will be done. We recognize some of these disparities, and the good news is that we are not sitting idle on this, and government is not resting on this matter at all.
So it's now time to talk about our safety. It was indeed a bloody weekend as 4 lives were lost, with at least some 46 individuals left with various degrees of injuries. These were as a result of accidents that occurred in the Savannah and Central regions. First, here's a report by Richard Kojonyako with events in the Central region.
The two accidents happened at separate locations, but were all on the same stretch, the Cape Coast Winnie-Bakaswa stretch. The first accident happened at dawn, 12 a.m., while the second happened few minutes after 6 a.m. on Sunday. Winneba Fire Service Commander DO3 Kwesi Hughes narrate what happened.
Eyewitness said, "Na sprinter no na di enimu, na Kia Rhino no di echire. Na dafo no di ofi Accra."
Eyewitnesses have told us that the sprinter bus was leading while the Kia Rhino followed. The DAF was heading to Cape Coast from Accra, and the two were from Cape Coast. All of a sudden, the Kia Rhino attempted overtaking, but first it hit the car in front of it. 8 people were trapped, 2 females and 6 males. We managed to get them out of the car.
And I trap it. Mammy no memensia. Nti omo efre apam ambulance. Ebe kan win by ambulance when they do omo nyina call trauma and specialist hospital.
This eyewitness told us about the second accident. He explained the driver burst a tire and somersaulted several times.
And one of the sprinter was coming ahead. Then it was a flat tire. And the tire got burst. So when I heard the sound, I know that no, there's something going to happen. So immediately the tire just got burst. The driver stepped on the brake. Then the car just turned outside rear. So, but God's being good, but they were just injured, serious injuries. So they just took them to trauma hospital.
The fire service commander DO3 Kwesi Hughes said the car had exceeded its passenger capacity and was fully loaded with foodstuffs as well. He said instead of the vehicle vehicle's capacity of 21 passengers, it had 38 passengers on board.
But we load nipa 38 into the difference, instead of 21. And I was say loaded.
It had loaded 39 passengers instead of the allowable passengers of 21. And it had also loaded plantain and other foodstuff. So it had loaded beyond its capacity. But luckily, no one died. A total of 46 passengers were injured, but 20 of them are said to be in critical condition. All injured persons were sent to the Winneba Trauma and Specialist Hospital, while the road has been cleared. The vehicles involved in the accident have also been towed away from the accident scene. Reporting for Joy News, Richard Kwejenyako, Cape Coast.
Well, so we'll bring you some updates on what's happening up north, but the National Road Safety Commission, its authorities are obviously alarmed about what's happening. Kwame Kodia Etiahini is the head of regulations, inspection and compliance at the National Road Safety Authority. Joins us now on the telephone. Thank you, sir, for your time. First of all, has the authority actually observed the trends, what we witnessed over the weekend? Hello, sir, if you can hear me, I'm asking whether or not your office has received reports of what transpired over the weekend.
Hello?
Yes. Hello, sir, I hope you can hear me. I'm asking whether or not you've received reports of what transpired over the weekend.
Yes, good afternoon. We've received some reports and also followed some of the reports in the media on some of the incidents that occurred over the weekend. I think that was one that in the Kaswa Takwa district particularly came to our attention.
I'm sure that this must obviously be of concern to you as an authority because we know that, for instance, during the festivities, you've put in place some measures to target hotspots. But for now, have you been able to establish what happened over the weekend and what measures are you taking to contain that?
Yeah, I think the common issues, when you look at the trend, it may appear not to be an isolated case because most of these incidents occur in and around Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because others stick to high-speed driving, tired, in some cases under the influence of alcohol, and also because over the weekend and in some of those areas, you do not appear to find as much police visibility as one would expect. And all of these factors work together to create the sort of conditions or situations that we have. The authority is particularly concerned because if you look at the data for January up to the close of March, I mean, there's been some relative improvement in all the indicators. Coming after the Easter festivities, it puts us on notice to rally our stakeholders together, intensify all our efforts to be sure that we can arrive at the end of the year in a much better situation than last year.
I thought this is a collaborative effort, so definitely as you're talking about enforcement, I'm sure that by now you've reached out to Ghana Police Service in terms of increasing your men or their men on the major highways.
Yes. In fact, we meet regularly, and there's a session planned with them, even together with the operators and the media. I mean, consistently we've been having an interface with the media. But as far as our collaboration with the police and the operators are concerned, the last quarter we did meet, and there's a series of meetings planned for this quarter as well, just to be sure that the relative gains that were made are sustained in term form.
Right. For Sam, this is even reinforcing the need to carry out that program that you had wanted to do, an audit of some commercial vehicles across the country. How far are plans on that?
Yes, so you recall that sometime last year we did issue those directives. We have been doing an audit to measure the level of compliance as part of the strategy, we will be coming back to the public to give out, to say a report essentially, as a means of putting these authorities or these operators on notice. Our expectation is that, one, they provide a certain unique service to the public. The public must have a certain assurance of the quality of the service. So even though within our processes there will be opportunities for us to issue compliance notices and take steps to enforce these protocols, for starters, if the operator is fully aware that his service quality is being monitored, which quality may inform choices and decisions by the passenger, he is likely to do the right thing. I could report to you that as of now, based on the preliminary reports we have, there are quite a number of of them, the operators, that have done considerably well. And there are others that are also lagging way behind. But we have served notice on them and given clear indication of what we plan to do. And by close of the month, we'll come back to you and we'll put out the data to begin the conversation leading to enforcement of those protocols.
We'll definitely be following such development, but for now, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you, Mr. Etienne, speaking to us. Now, let's talk about what's happening in the education sector. The minority is actually alleging the diversion of at least 2 billion Ghana cedis as part of the funds meant for financing government's flagship free SHS policy. According to the Deputy Ranking on Education, Dr. Clement Apak, the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, days ago claimed that a little over some 5 billion cedis has been spent on the program, contrary to the figures given by the Finance Ministry, pegging the total sum at some 7.6 billion Ghana cedis. Dr. Apak believes that the conflicting figures contradict parliamentary records, which captures the use of the funds at 5.3 billion cedis in the last 5 years. So exactly what's the position of the minority on this, and how soon will they want government to come clear on this? Dr. Clement Apak is joining us now via Zoom. Thank you, sir, for your time. So is it not too early in the day to conclude that indeed government has diverted some 2 billion cedis, particularly when you don't have evidence to back that claim?
Well, let me say thank you for giving me the opportunity. I have pursued this issue since 2021. I have asked questions to the minister, and the minister's response was the reason that gave me doubt. The minister, in response to a question I filed, had indicated that government had expended 7.6 billion, 62 billion in implementing the program over the 5-year period from 2017 to 2021. On that fateful day, I remember drawing the minister's attention to the fact that his own 2020 media budget review had captured 3.2 billion. And so I wondered how in just 1 year, between 2020 and 2021, the expenditure on Free Senior High School had ballooned from 3.2 billion to 7.62. The minister at the time sought to suggest that that additional expenditure, which he claimed was unplanned, was likely due to the procurement of PPEs in relation to preparing schools and ensuring that students and teachers are safe. Now, when I did my own assessments of all the documents that the minister had presented, it worked out to a maximum of 5.2 billion. When I asked for further and better particulars, the minister indicated on the floor of Parliament that he would come back and provide the detailed breakdown.
But Dr. Pak, this is just a matter of figures. At least you have to yourself the Education Minister himself, who's a member of Parliament, your colleague as well. It's as simple as that, asking for the actual figures and dealing with it. But clearly, it appears you have a suspicion. What's that suspicion?
I do, because I've asked for those figures. They've not been forthcoming. And my suspicion has been confirmed by the information given by the Vice President during his lecture on the 7th of this month, where he stated on 2 different occasions that the total amount spent on the program between 2017 and 2021 was 5.3 billion. Therefore, I continue to ask, why is it that we have 2 sets of figures for the same government flagship program? Why is it that since I raised this issue in 2021, neither the minister or government has been able to come public and to account for that additional 2.4 billion based on my calculation, and now the additional 2.3 billion extra based on the information put out by the Vice President? So the onus falls on government to explain to us why that additional expenditure in the name of Free Senior High School. I'm suspecting 2 things. One, either those monies were diverted and used for another purpose other than funding and supporting the program.
And I'm sorry for cutting through, but that's a claim you need to back with evidence. There's nothing to prove that.
I don't have to back that claim. I have made my allegation.
Yeah, but you agree with me that as a member of parliament, you don't have to be putting out claims without backing them with evidence. You agree?
Have you seen the statement I've put out?
But you're concluding that there's diversion. That's what you're saying.
Have you read my statement?
You're claiming there's a diversion.
Have you seen the documents I've cited? Have you seen the pages I've indicated? Have you seen the dates I have given? So if up to now the government cannot tell us what happened to that money, why don't I have the right to conclude that it was either diverted or the money was never even allocated and used for the purpose of which we are being told? It's as simple as that.
How soon are you expecting an answer from government on this?
As I've told you, this is a matter I've pursued since 2021, I believe in June. And so this is yet another opportunity. And particularly so since the Vice President, the head of government's economic management team, and I know the Finance Minister is a member of that economic management team, since the 2 of them are now giving conflicting figures, I think they owe us a responsibility by telling us what the actual cost of funding Free Senior High School in the past 5 years is.
So how about this? The program as it stands now is still being run by government. Should that not be a priority? The fact that we want to ensure that it's better off and not necessarily go into the nitty-gritties of whether or not we have funds being allegedly diverted, as you're claiming.
So are you saying we shouldn't ask for accountability?
I'm asking a question, sir.
No, I am. By your question, what you are saying is that I am wrong.
I didn't say you're wrong. I was only asking for evidence.
Seek accountability from the government.
Right.
It is my right as a citizen. It's my right as a member of parliament to seek accountability. And I'm playing my role. They have the right to respond. And if they don't, I am entitled to the conclusions that I have reached.
Yes, but I'm asking about priorities now. The fact that the free SHS policy itself concerns students, there are more issues to be looking at as well about the policy and not necessarily the monies involved. That's what I was asking about.
Shouldn't you be worried that the program is still bedeviled with a myriad of challenges? Are you not aware that even as we speak, feeding of students is an issue? Having to head that government still owes buffer stock suppliers, and that is why we must follow the money trail. Because if all of these monies that the minister claims, Minister for Finance claims, has gone to the program, then many of the challenges still bedeviling the program should not even exist. So what I am doing is actually in the right direction. That when we say we are allocating resources to a program, we should make sure that those resources go to that program.
At least we know that you have an opportunity as a member of parliament till the end of next month to ask some questions on the floor of parliament. Are you taking that opportunity?
Well, I'll file a question again, but as I indicated earlier, the only reason why Ghanaians even know that some 7.62 billion is alleged to have been spent on the program was because of a question I filed. So I've been at this not today. And I'm even now, more than ever, certain that something is not right.
Not right with the free SHS policy or the bigger picture about the education sector?
Not right with the financing and the resources claimed to have been applied to the program.
You seem to be passionate about this, and forgive me if I'm getting it wrong, but some say, well, it's laced with your political underpinnings. Should we be looking at things from such a lens?
You see, I am an academic, and if anyone has taken the time to see the very lengthy write-up that I did, you would know that this is not mere political talk, because I've cited documents, I've cited dates, I've cited documents not produced by me, not presented by me, but presented by government officials, including the Minister for Finance. So this is not just mere politics. So I advise that those who have any doubt, they should take a look at what I've put out. And if they go into those documents and they find that what I've said is not contained in those documents, then they can call me out.
Anyway, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you so much, Dr. Clement Apak, Deputy Ranking on the Education Committee in Parliament. In fact, Dr. Apak's free SHS policy money is not the only money we're looking for this afternoon on the polls. In fact, we're asking that question, where did the COVID-19 funds go? In what appears to be the start of a long-standing controversy, former President John Dramani Mahama is also accusing President Akufo-Addo of diverting more than 33 billion cedis earmarked for the fight against COVID-19 to fund his re-election bid in 2020. He's been speaking at the 24th African Business Conference at the Harvard Business School in the United States, where he alleged that Ghana's current financial downturn and worsening debt levels is as a result of what he calls government's mismanagement of the economy.
The pandemic has had a generally deleterious effect on the economy of African nations. But some countries have ridden the wave more successfully than others based on the resilience of their economies, discipline, and prudent use of their resource envelopes in the period of this crisis. In my country, Ghana, our economy has emerged in extremely poor shape from the COVID experience. A ballooning deficit, double-digit inflation, a nose-diving currency, increasing debt distress, are some of the symptoms of a very ill economy. Ghana's case was easy to predict with the cavalier handling of the economy by the current administration, unbridled borrowing from the capital markets, creative misstatements of budget deficits and other critical fiscal figures were certain to come to a head eventually. Ghana went into the pandemic without adequate buffers and has emerged with a terribly battered economy. To make matters worse, a pandemic windfall of in excess of 33 billion Ghana cedis, which could have cushioned the economy, remains unaudited and is believed to have been used largely in the quest to win election 2020 at all costs. The pandemic has laid bare, once again, the inherent weakness in our public health delivery systems and our social welfare systems. Take, for instance, the testing of COVID-19 globally. A report compiled by McKinsey and company showed that by May 2020, only 11 people per 1,000 had been tested in Mauritius, which had Africa's best record in that regard and had a population of 1.3 million, as compared to 166 per 1,000 people in Iceland, with a population of about 300,000 people. In Ghana, we could manage testing for 5.5 people per 1,000 for a population of 31 million people. Africa is still worse off in COVID-19 vaccine rollout. Out of 8 billion doses of vaccines distributed globally by the end of 2021, 3% had been administered, with only 8% of the over 1.2 billion living in Africa fully vaccinated. This compares with about 60% of vaccinations in high-income countries. It is my firm belief that Africa has survived COVID by the resilience imbued in us as a people by nature, and not by any skillful handling of the pandemic by any particular government.
Well, so we're still working the lines to get government response on these allegations made by the former president. There's also a group which is pushing government to account for all of the monies received during the fight against the pandemic. Adam Senano is co-chair of the Citizen Movement Against Corruption. He's joining us via Zoom for us to have a conversation on this. Also joining us on this is Kwame Bempa, who's spokesperson for the COVID-19 Trust Fund. Remember, President Akufo-Addo commissioned them to take funds from the private sector. We'll get into the claims of how much has been raised and how the funds have been disbursed. But first, Adam, the former president has made his claims. You are backing such calls and asking government to look into the funds and auditing. That's what you need. Why do we need that now?
Well, thank you. I mean, it's just a matter of good governance that if resources have been made available to any particular government for a specific purpose, to keep the trust and confidence of the citizenry, you provide the necessary review of what came in, the outflows, and so we can see that there was accountability. And this is something that, honestly speaking, the Auditor General, giving the interest in the matter, I would expect that the 2021 audited accounts of government should reflect what happened with the various COVID funds that came in. So it's purely a matter of good governance, transparency and accountability. And we expect that government will do what is right by the people of the country.
But if you listen to the World Health Organization state their position on the pandemic itself, they claim that we're not out of the woods. So why not give time to government at least to complete its fight against this pandemic, and then we could be demanding for accountability?
Standard accounting practice. You do annual accounts. And your accounts, as far as government is concerned, cannot be complete if resources that came in a particular year are not accounted for by the end of the year. So right from 2020, any resources that came in ought to have been factored in the audited report for 2020. And then when you got a different set of funds in 2021, it's part of the process of keeping duty bearers on their toes. So you know that an independent objective entity is going to take a look at the books, do an assessment of what resources came in, who brought it in, were these funds that were credible, they're not tainted, how was it used, did it bring in value for money, was some diverted? These are standard things that we do year in, year out as a matter of good governance. So there's nothing about why don't you wait until, assuming the COVID pandemic continued for 5 years, would you be saying you want to wait till the end of the 5 years? That's absolutely not the way to go. So it's actually safer for everyone when in smaller bits, we take a close look. And it also gives you opportunity if you think that resources are being applied where it is not needed, or there is some place where you can clearly see that the suppliers are taking advantage to, as it were, spike prices, intentionally, over invoice, etc.
Right, and Adam, this is where some say there's enough remedies within the statutes of Ghana. We have a number of laws that could check the situation. I do recall that the former Auditor General, Daniel Yao-Domilifo, had wanted to commission some auditing to the COVID-19 fund and other related matters as well. Are you expecting that such independent organizations will take it up and begin to probe what government has spent so far with regard to COVID?
Absolutely. Especially to the extent where government is not so minded as to explain the discrepancies between the statements made from the president himself, the vice president, the minister of finance, the minister of information. That is intriguing. And once that begins to happen, it means that probably nobody has full control over what is coming and what is going, and it raises red flags. So absolutely, there is a need to dig in and find out what exactly is going on. If government was so minded by now, at least the presidency, as a matter of public policy, should have had a chief policy analyst or someone speak to the discrepancy between the various figures being put out there. That hasn't happened. It's a good reason why additional investigation and auditing must take place.
Are we seeing any activity or action in the coming days from your?
I think that the one thing we will be looking out for is the Auditor General's report for 2021. Because like you said, in terms of the constitution and legal mandate, the Auditor General's department is the first point at which this issue ought to have been audited on an annual basis.
Right.
And so we ought to check what comes out in 2021. And if it's not addressed, that's when we ought to begin to say, but in the meantime, other groups must begin. I mean, anyone who's interested must raise a question so that nobody assumes that nobody is paying attention to what is going on.
We'll see about that. Adam, thank you for spending some time with us here on The Pulse. Kwame Bempah is also spokesperson for the Trust Fund. Definitely we'll get back to them to understand what it is that the COVID-19 Trust Fund Secretariat has done about this. But first, we need to bring you this. The Adabraka Health Center, which we do know is also working in collaboration with some health facilities in the Volta region, has equipped an ambulance to augment healthcare delivery to residents of the Zongo community in parts of the Volta region. Now, the foundation procured and handed over the ambulance to the health facility in honor of a request by some youth in Hohwe in the Volta region. We do know that the Zongo Development Association there has been calling for some aid in terms of transport reliefs in the health sector. But there's more in this report capturing what transpired and how they received their new ambulance. Well, so we'll give you some updates on that shortly, but the COVID-19 Trust Fund has a response on the claims being raised by former President John Dramani Mahama. Bempah is back on the lines with us, joining us via Zoom. He's spokesperson for the COVID-19 Trust Fund. So I was asking earlier, sir, about your claims that is being made by the former president. In fact, there's and not just from the former president as well, the Citizen Movement Against Corruption is also asking for an auditing the funds that you have accrued so far. How much have you raised, and are you open to the idea of accounting to the people of Ghana on this? Kwame Bempah, you'd have to unmute so we can...
Hello?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yeah.
You're on, sir.
Yeah. Let me start by saying that there seems to be some form of misunderstanding part of the general public. This time, unfortunately, the ex-president is going to misunderstanding. Let me start by saying that the COVID-19 National Trust Fund, not the body responsible for managing all the COVID-19 resources. Let me repeat. We are not responsible for keeping, managing, and accounting for all COVID-19 resources. Were created by an act of parliament to complement the efforts of government to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. And by the act of parliament, which is Act 1013/2020, the Novel Coronavirus COVID-19 National Trust Fund Act, we are supposed to, our mandate as per the act, is to create an avenue for well-meaning individuals, groups, and corporate bodies to contribute or donate monies and resources towards the combat of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we have been living on the benevolence of Ghanaians since our establishment and the inauguration of our board on the 8th of April 2020. And like you asked, from the date of our inception, that is when the President and Parliament established the COVID-19 National Trust Fund. We've raised 59,830,591.67. And I want to repeat, 59,830
Yeah, but
591. This is us at December 2020.
What we're having, the challenge is we're having difficulties hearing the exact amounts and figures you're mentioning. If you could just.
Can I repeat it for you?
Okay. Yes. Right.
Can I repeat it for you?
Okay.
I'm saying that as at December 31st, 2021, the COVID-19 National Trust Fund has received amounts to the tune of 59,830,591.67, disbursed up to 49,763,135.32. So when people are calling for accounts, audits, yes, we support it, but we are not supposed to be the body that anybody should approach for us to account for 17 billion, 18 billion, and up to about 33 billion that I am hearing the former president mentioning.
Okay, so the claim you're making is, and let's try and get you clearly on this.
Yeah.
The claim you're making is you have with you now some 50, is it 59 billion cedis?
59 million, let's say up to 60 million Ghana cedis.
60 million Ghana cedis. That's how much you have raised.
And we spend up to about 50 million in various interventions that if you have time, I can take you through. So when people are calling on institutions and government agencies to come and account for monies for the fight against COVID, and they mention COVID-19 National Trust Fund, the understanding that I want you to get for your listeners is that we were not created to collect all the monies that comes to government for the combat of COVID-19. We were supposed to be complementing the efforts of government to fight against the pandemic.
But is it not? Yeah, so I get that point has been made. But
yes,
in the interest of good governance, of transparency, why are you not putting out details of what you've expended and where the funds are? Because you're claiming that you've used almost 90% or 80% of the funds that you've raised.
Yes, but I've appeared on your own program, The Pulse, and some other programs. Your money should have been on Joy Network for more than 4 times. I've been on our own radio and TV. So sometimes when some of these misinformations are going around, sometimes I expect the media to come and say that if it is about the COVID-19 National Trust Fund, this is what they have done, so that it will not seem as if the 1 billion COVID-19 fund from IMF, about $400 and something million from World Bank, all came to COVID-19 National Trust Fund.
Yeah, so why are you not able to publish? The question is, why are you not able to publish?
We have done that. If you go to our website, you see the amounts we've received and the amounts we've disbursed. And we keep on updating. Because like I said, since April 2020, we continue to receive donations. But because COVID, sometimes people think that it is going away and so on. The rate at which the donations come is not as it was during the first 3 months of our establishment when we first discovered COVID. So, and like I told you, if you want an update of everything that we have done, every peso that we have expended, and how much is left in our coffers, when you finish, you can send anybody to the offices. You have my contact, ask me. I will give you an updated information as to what we've done with the close to 50 million that we've disbursed so far.
All right.
How much is left and what are the activities we are engaged in.
Okay,
so
then.
lastly, let me say lastly that we have even received an invitation from the Ministry of Finance. We are going to do a presentation on Wednesday, and about 34 institutions, including ministries, departments, and agencies, which were giving monies from central government. Please listen to this point carefully, which were giving monies from central government to do anything related to COVID. They are being called upon to come and present what they did, the procurement procedures they followed, financial audit, procurement audit, and everything.
All right.
We are going there because the contributions we receive are public monies, but government has not given us any money because the act which established us did not establish us for government to give us money from
Okay, then. So we'll wait till that time and see what it is that will be the fallouts from that engagement.
For the 19 National Trust Fund does not give monies
right.
that came to government to combat the pandemic. We receive donations to complement the efforts of government to combat the pandemic. The amount of money that we've received so far is what I have given to you.
Okay,
all other monies, I am urging the media to look for the relevant government agencies that the money went to, so that they become upon by accounts of what they and how much they spent and what they spent it on.
We'll have to leave it here. Thank you for joining us here on The Pulse. You're still with us here on the JoyNews channel. We'll return shortly after this break. Please stay. And welcome back to The Pulse. Let's take you to our earlier story where the Tamakap Foundation has procured and handed over an ambulance to the health facility in honor of a request by the Hohwe Zongo Development Association to aid transportation and referral as well as emergency cases there. There's more in the following report.
The Adabraka Health Center was established in 2014 to serve members of the Zongo community in Hohwe and its environs. The facility has since seen some facelift from infrastructure to medical logistics with support from the Hohwe Development Association.
Looking into helping with the healthcare of our community. And so through the effort of HOSDA, the chiefs, we were able to start this clinic. That's the Adabraka Health Center. And so, and since then, we've not turned back. Every year, we buy equipment to support the health center.
However, it lacks some requisite equipment, hence some patients are referred to bigger facilities with the use of public transport. In the same vein, residents are also compelled to resort to public transport in times of emergency, a development administrators have described as an impediment on healthcare delivery in the Hohwe municipality.
Our maternal health services are most especially the critical clients that need to be referred. In case they are managing these cases and it's the way the midwife can no longer manage, they need to refer this client to the next level or the hospital within the district, which we usually use transport system. Sometimes they deliver the baby and the baby cannot breathe well. We call it asphyxia. This baby needs to rush quickly to the NICU or the intensive care unit at the Hohwe Municipal Hospital, currently the Volta Regional Hospital.
Learning of the predicament, the Hohwe Zongo Development Association lobbied the Tamaka Africa to provide the facility with an ambulance. The association honored the request and presented the medically equipped vehicle to the Adabraka Health Center in Hohwe.
And we are hoping that this ambulance will help augment the ambulance services provided by Ghana Ambulance Service. After consultation with the municipal directorate, we agreed that the ambulance will provide in-town transportation from Adabraka Clinic to the now regional hospital, and it can also provide transportation from other clinics to the regional hospital when the need arises, so that the National Ambulance Service will provide outbound transportation from the regional hospital to other tertiary institutions if needed.
The residents lauded the gesture and are optimistic healthcare delivery would improve in the area. Fred Kwame Asari, JoyNews, Hohwe.
So now let's take you to the Bono East region, where an 11-year-old primary 5 pupil of the RC Basic School, was adjudged the overall best pupil at the climax of the Bono East Regional Girls in ICT program organized by the Ministry of Communications and Digitalization. The program, held in Techiman under the theme Access and Safety, seeks to equip girls in ICT to boost their confidence to take up careers in the field of technology in the future. My colleague Anas Sabit was there and now reports.
11-year-old Princess Kumi, a primary school pupil of the Prime RC Basic School in the Pro West District of the Bono East region, was adjudged the winner of the 2022 edition of the Girls in ICT program held in Techiman in the Bono East region. Princess Kumi, who was lucky to have been part of the program after replacing a girl who failed to make it, defied the odds to be the best amongst 1,000 other girls selected across the 11 districts of the region.
I am 11 years of age from Prime RC Primary School with my dream to become a programmer. There was no way I would miss this opportunity. When I learned my elder sister, Tabitha Kumi, had been selected to take part in the Girls in ICT program, I quickly went to my teacher and told her to allow me to join. I was so happy when I was called to replace a girl who could not make it. I knew it was my time, and here I am, the winner of the 2022 Girls in ICT program.
She expressed gratitude to the Communications Ministry and government for the life-changing opportunity and noted that the program has created an opportunity for many girls across the country.
I would like to thank the Almighty God for this opportunity. I know this is a life-changing chance for my friends and I, who took part for the past 2 weeks.
Minister for Communications and Digitalization, Asla Osu Ekufu, noted that the Girls in ICT program is aimed at introducing young girls into the field of information and communications technology to make meaningful impacts in their respective localities.
We need to develop and grow the digital literacy and skills of our children for them to become solution providers and innovators who are able to use technology to solve our socio-economic problems. We are hopeful that in the fullness of time, the innovative solutions that these young girls will produce will not only have national application, but also meet global demand.
She, however, urged the girls to be mindful of the dangers associated with the internet and use ICT tools in a safe manner.
The opportunities the internet presents are boundless. However, there are dangers online. Programs that provide educational resources online may create the means for cyberbullying, cyber pornography, sextortion, and other kinds of online crimes. We need to be mindful of these risks to the safety and privacy of our young ladies.
Out of the 1,000 girls trained across the region, the best 100 amongst them received laptops, 12 girl child coordinators, 11 best teachers from the 11 districts all went home with laptops each, and a special award was given to Shafatu Imoro, a special girl who defied her health to participate in the training with exceptional performance. Also, the best 3 students all went home with certificates, a plaque and cash prizes. Reporting for Joy News, Anas Abit, Techiman.
And our former Deputy Minister for Communications and MP for Owutu-Senya West, George Anda, says he has not regretted transitioning actually from the corporate world into the active partisan politics. However, the only challenge, he says, which is he considers as a learning curve or experience, is to master the art of persuading voters to believe in his political ideology. This is contained in his autobiography detailing his journey in life so far to encourage the youth to aspire higher. Samuel Mbura has more in this report.
The former Ebutu Senior West constituency MP has worked for several years in the corporate world as the marketing director of Guinness Ghana Breweries Limited to being the chief marketing officer for Scancom Limited, a member of the MTN Group, became the chief marketing officer of Bharti Airtel Nigeria, to the country manager of Glo Mobile Ghana and the regional director marketing promotions Globacom. He then went on to establish his own company called Roda Solutions, a Ghanaian-based market development management consultancy service. He joined active partisan politics and won the seat to represent the NPP. Mr. Anda, sharing his thoughts on his autobiography book titled Determined to Do More, The Mission is Possible, tells JoyNews, politics in Ghana is really an experience.
It's a balance. It's not all doom and gloom. There are great sides of being in active frontline politics, and there are great learnings. I mean, if you're in the corporate world, you know that those that work with you, they all have specific goals, and you sign a performance contract at the beginning of the year. So you know that you're all working towards the same objective. It doesn't necessarily apply in frontline politics. I mean, people have individual objectives and individual goals, and you can't punish anyone or you can't sanction anyone for not playing their role the way that you expect them to play their role. Sometimes some of the people that you actually have to appeal to are people that may not necessarily connect with you, but you have to go down to their level because you need for them to understand the agenda that you are driving. You can't use force. You have to persuade them. You have to convince them, and I guess that is the big challenge. Apart from the image denting, is actually carrying people along. And for me, in my corporate world, I find it very difficult to carry people that are a bit slow, so people that don't see eye to eye with me as far as the corporate goal that we are trying to achieve is concerned. I find it difficult, and I'll go ahead and I'll do the work myself. But in politics, it doesn't work that way. You have to get the masses. You need their votes, so you have to carry them along. And I'm not too sure that I can say that I mastered that art. There's still a lot to be learned.
Speaking on the regrets of joining active partisan politics from the corporate world, Nenye George Anda indicates the challenges are lessons to him.
I wouldn't say regrets. I'll say learnings. I'll say that there are quite a lot of learnings that I've picked up. There are certain things that, if given the opportunity, once again, I may not do things that way. And so yes, but I guess it applies to every aspect of life. You win some, you lose some, you pick up learnings, you fall down, you get up, you dust yourself, and you hit the road running. And I guess that if I didn't have that opportunity of going to frontline politics, the book wouldn't have been as rich as people are saying it is now. So it's good.
But Minister for Information, Kojo Opon Nkrumah, is encouraging the active participation of the youth in partisan politics.
I believe that politics is a very important part of our national life. No matter what we do, some of the major decisions that affect all of us in the private sector, etc., will be taken by politicians. And we need to encourage, one, a lot more people to get into politics. Two, we need to encourage a lot more politics that is based on data, based on science, have a debate or a set of conversations that is based on verifiable data. We can disagree. It doesn't mean we hate each other, but we may have different views on what the data says, its interpretation, and what we should use it for. And so I believe we need to encourage a lot more people to get into politics, a lot more people from the private sector to get into politics, and to bring a lot more private sector approach to doing things into our mainstream politics.
As a show of appreciation, Ochami Kwame and Samini performed on stage at the book launch to honor George Anda for his achievements and impact he has made in society and their careers. Samuel Mbura's report for Joy News.
Now, it could be recalled that President Akufo-Addo claimed in his 2022 State of the Nation address that his government has built 10,875 kilometers of new roads in 5 years he has been in office. Unfortunately, the Muslim community in the Okaima traditional area have not had their share of the national cake. The community says it wants its leaders to call on government to develop their area. There's more in the following report.
Leaders of the Ghana Central Municipal Assembly have contributed their quota towards the Ramadan celebration by donating some items to the Muslim community in the assembly. According to the assembly, the support is intended to promote social inclusion and support Muslims in their fasting. Mohammed Kamari is municipal chief executive.
This is Ramadan, a fasting period, and there should be a sense of belongingness. We want the Muslim community to feel part of the municipality. So this is a token from the assembly to the Muslim community.
The MCE also reiterated the National Chief Imam's plea for Muslim communities to embrace peace and take advantage of government's educational programs rather than engage in violence. Mr. Kamari urged residents to aspire to achieve more and contribute their fair share to national growth.
My advice is just to repeat what His Eminence, the National Chief Imam, has been admonishing Muslims. One, be steadfast in your religion. Uphold the tenets of Islam. Islam is against violence. So then, we take inspiration from the President of the Republic. He's made secondary education free for us. So let us take advantage as Muslims of this initiative that will make them responsible adults to contribute to nation building.
Receiving the items on behalf of the Muslim community, Chief Imam of Okaima Suraka Sala highlighted the need for development in the area as he appealed for the provision of roads and drainage systems.
No, what we need is the development of the area, the drainages and the roads. Only that one we need from the government.
The recipients expressed their gratitude for the supplies and indicated it was timely. Ifwa Aprekua Boafo's report read to you.
Well, we can now take you to some other stories talking about relations between Ghana and India, as the Indian government is indicating that they will continue to cooperate with Ghana in different areas, including innovation and technology. This is expected to help in the sustainable growth and development of both countries. According to the authorities and delegation working with the Indian Commission, they are working with stakeholders in Ghana in ensuring that initiatives, innovations, and other areas are also looked at. This was disclosed in an interview at a science fair which was held here in the Greater Accra region. There's more in this report.
The science fair, which was on the theme Sustainable Solutions for Sustainable Future, saw students exhibiting innovations in the area of security, health, agriculture, energy, sustainable cities, but just to mention a few. Indian High Commissioner to Ghana, His Excellency Sugand Rajaram, was highly impressed with the project displayed. He says measures are in place to harness these exceptional talents for the development of both India and Ghana.
We are looking at, the cooperation in the areas of tinkering of the ideas, innovation, research, startups, and many more, areas of futuristic orientation. And if we get cooperation of the educational institutions like DPS International in this effort, I think that will be a catalyst in expedition of the cooperation. And I see that there is a potential if we could involve such communities which include the educational institutions and student groups to see that we drive this agenda of cooperation in the area of innovation and skills.
One of the main attractions at the fair was a drone built to help identify persons trapped in the event of fire for firefighters to rescue them. Shriman Jha is a member of the group that built this drone.
This drone is a high-quality FPV, very strong, high-motor drone, which can be very quickly go into the fire and record details about the fire, casualties, how many people there are, what is the situation of the fire right now, in less than maybe 1 minute, and give all information wirelessly back to the firefighters on the drone. We also have an ESP32 cam module installed onto this, which helps us with facial recognition and facial identification. And that helps us to know where is which person and identify where people are. And also we have a code which records where each person was identified and its location.
Principal of DPS International, Dr. Sima V. Nair says the students are made to think in the area of sustainability to help protect the environment.
We have children with all the different kinds of models related to sustainability. We know that it's one of the UN developmental goals, and we all have to achieve sustainability by 2030. So all my little students, right from the pre-primary to the AS level, have come up with different projects related to renewable energy, related to sustainable housing, related to sustainable transport and communication, and related to sustainable cafe also. You see, these are the children of the future, and they know how important it is for sustainability, because there is no planet B. There's only one Earth, and we need to save our Earth.
Meanwhile, founder and director of DPS International, Mukesh Takwani, believes such projects will have a huge impact on Ghana's development in the future. Kwame Yankes reports for Joy News.
And you're welcome back to the program. The Commissioner General for the Ghana Revenue Authority, Reverend Dr. Mishadai Owusu-Amwa, in Living by Example, has filed his tax returns. And guess what? He did that online, actually signaling how easy it is for almost all or everyone out there to file their taxes. Here's how it actually panned out.
This is the month of April, and this is the month that's dedicated for every taxpayer, or for that matter for every citizen, to file their taxes. I have just finished filing my tax using our taxpayers portal, and I'm therefore using the opportunity to encourage every taxpayer to go onto our taxpayers portal and make sure that he files his tax. You can also download our app either from the Apple Store or from the Google Play Store, and be able to file your tax conveniently. And I want to encourage everyone between now and the end of April, make sure that you file your tax and become tax compliant. If in extreme cases you are not able to either go onto our website and use our portal, or download the app and use the app, you can still visit our offices, and our staff will help you to be able to file. But by all means, whether it is Google Play Store, whether it's Apple Store, whether it's going through our portal, by all means, file your tax. Thank you very much.
Okay, so over now to the Ashanti region, the Saki Zongo, and also the Sultan Alhaji Umar Farouk Said has actually rallied some Muslims there to devote their resources towards unity and peace. Now, he used iftar dinner at his residence to appeal to Muslims, describing it as important for Ghana's growth and development. He addressed Muslim leaders, politicians, among others, in the Ashanti region. Mahmoud Nuruddin has more in the following report.
Iftar literally means fast-breaking meal. The organizers say the event is a message of harmony, something that they have always lived with, but that needs to be highlighted now more than ever. About 50 people attended the event in keeping with the benevolent spirit of Ramadan. Here is Alhaji Ali Suraj from the office of the Vice President.
It's an iftar. Iftar meaning we are breaking the fasting with our brothers and sisters. But this one specifically is for the royal palace of the Zongo chiefs, which include the leaders of the Zongo communities. We call them not because we want to discuss anything, because I am a worker under the Vice President, His Excellency the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. I'm also the leader of the Zongo community, which they crown me as a hardworking of the Zongo community young man. So I think when I request that the Vice President that I wanted to go and visit my home, he said, yes, indeed, you deserve to go.
Participants commend the Vice President for the iftar and urge Muslims to make an effort to change the lives of others.
We thank Ali Suraju from the Vice President's office. We also pray for the progress of the President and the Vice President.
Palace, all the political parties know. So we are KQQ, PNC, NDC, MPP.
We are all one people, whether you belong to one party or not. The Vice President and Ali Suraju have done well. Sarkin Zongo wants to see the progress of Zongo across the country.
They are all penny say, what's Zongo for? Yes, we are day. Young Kaya home na young Koyanim. One empire de be a Wobama Amansain, I don't know. Zongo I Wagana, Zongo was Santimaimu, said your person, Danny Day no Asumjo no pe.
Patience, they say, pays, and peace is important, while humility is an important virtue. Sultan Alhaji Umar Farooq Said therefore calls on Muslims to take advantage of the month of Ramadan to pray for peace and unity among Ghanaians.
We stand together, we fall apart. Let's unite for our progress.
A report by Mohammed Nuruddin.
You're still watching The Pulse. We'll return shortly after this break.